The governor of Arizona is pushing through a draconian policy on the issue of health care. Think Progress reports, quote, on Friday, Governor Doug Ducey, no relation to Steve Ducey, approved a measure that seeks to tighten the state requirements for Medicaid eligibility, ultimately limiting public health insurance to fewer residents. The legislation proposes requiring the program's recipients to be employed in order to qualify for assistance and kicking them out of the program after they've been enrolled for 5 years. Now, here's why this idea is so ridiculous. It assumes that there's enough jobs out there for everybody, and the reason why any individual is unemployed is by choice. It just assumes that if you don't have a job, it's only because you're lazy. So get up and go get a job, and then maybe you'll qualify for Medicaid, and only for a shorter period of time, and there's a limit on it. So again, I mean, how many times have we gone over this? But right-wingers are just totally unfamiliar. They're totally ignorant to a lot of very basic economic facts. I mean, I remember going back to the height of the recession. I think it was in 2009 or so. There was a report which found that there were 4 or 5 people for every 1 job opening. So the math simply didn't work out. It was impossible for people to all be employed, even if they all wanted to be employed, which, by the way, most people do want to be employed. I mean, the idea that unemployment is caused by laziness over bigger economic factors, if you really believe that, then that means that in 2008 and 2009, when we had the subprime mortgage crisis and the subsequent Great Recession, that over the course of like 2 months, millions of people woke up and just decided, I'm lazier now than I was. I quit my job. No, they're not unemployed because they chose to be unemployed. They're unemployed because they got fucking laid off because the economy tanked because of macroeconomic factors. But this is just standard Republican 101 ideology and belief now that, well, if you're unemployed, it's because of some personal moral failing. It never has anything to do with macroeconomic factors that are beyond your control. And then also, I mean, you always need a safety net for people, because if you look at the way the economy functions, we have a permanent underclass with the working poor. I mean, the working poor exists in America. You can work a full-time job and not make enough money to survive. But what these Republicans do is they don't care. They point their finger at you anyway. Even though you're working a full-time job and you're trying to make ends meet and you're busy all day long, you're not like lazy or anything, you're working hard, but you still don't make enough money to live. And they go, well, I somehow still blame you for the situation that you're in. But they're working. They're doing the right thing for society, and society isn't doing the right thing for them, and their businesses aren't doing the right thing for them, the businesses that they work for. So it's through no fault of their own, and what these guys want to do is they want to pull the rug out from under them, the last thing that's propping them up so that they're not in serious, serious trouble where they have to leave their house or go to charity or something to try to get food. The last thing that props them up, the social safety net, they're saying, no, we're going to get rid of it, so no more health care for you. So overall, it slashes up to 500,000 people off of Medicaid and 253,500 children. God, think about how immoral that is. Slashing children off of the Medicaid rolls. Okay, regardless of what you think about the parents, and I just explained why I think their ideology is wrong about the parents, how can you affect the children in that way and be able to sleep at night? I don't understand how you can do that. And you know what the governor came out and said to defend this policy proposal? He called it, quote, responsible. This is responsible? To take healthcare away from children is responsible? Okay, this is such a draconian policy that the previous governor, Jan Brewer, who's a crazy far-right-wing Republican, was like, yeah, I can't do it. And not only can I not do it for moral reasons, but also for financial reasons too. I mean, you think you're going to help the budget when you do this, but you're not going to help the budget. Because at least with Medicaid, you have the federal government paying a certain percentage of the costs. But if you get rid of Medicaid, then who's going to have to pick up the slack when they show up to the emergency room and it costs even more to give them health care? Who's going to pay for it? The taxpayers are going to pay for it. So you think you're helping the fiscal situation. You're not helping the fiscal situation. So you're doubly wrong. You're wrong from a moral perspective, and you're also wrong from an economic perspective. There's no reason to do this whatsoever, other than the fact that you're a right-wing ideologue and you don't give a shit about facts and you don't give a shit about reality, and you're probably just doing this to do an extra snub to President Obama. Remember, the Medicaid expansion, so all the states that have done the Medicaid expansion, they're having fantastic results. More people are covered, and the way it works, of course, you have the federal government cover 100% of the costs when they expand it for, 3 years or 5 years or so, and then after that, the federal government still pays like 90% of the costs. So all the states are like, this is awesome, we love this. But then there are some states, red states, that just to snub Obama and be obstructionist Republicans are like, we refuse to accept it because it's part of Obamacare and Obamacare is evil. And then what happens as a result of that? As we covered, it was a Harvard study which found that as a result of a lot of red states refusing to expand Medicaid under Obamacare, what's going to happen? 17,000 people are going to die. 17,000 people are going to die because a bunch of dumbass Republican governors hate Obama so much and they want to snub him so much that they'd rather have people in their states die to say, fuck you to Obama. This is the worst kind of obstruction, the most irrational kind of obstruction that's humanly possible. But they do it, and they do it with a smile on their face, and then they have the nerve to call it responsible.